Welcome to Cadwell Park for round 7 and 8 of the Speed Group F1000 Championship. Championship leader Dan Clowes starts in 3rd place, but it's his championship rival Michael Watton that's on pole. It's over to our race commentator Andy McEwen to take you through the rest of the grid.
Yes, thank you very much, Lloyd, and we've got a very interesting set of races coming your way here from Cadwell Park. It's Michael Watton and Paul Butcher on the front row for race number 1, with championship leader Dan Clowes with Iyengar alongside him on row 2. Then it's Al Boulton and Adam Walker ahead of Peter Lague and Alwyn Rhodes-Mays making his debut. Then it's Rob Bailey, Christopher Hill and Dan Levy rounding out the 11-car field. Well, the cars lining up on the grid then. It is the reigning champion Michael Watton on pole position, on board with Alistair Boulton for the start. The lights go out and we are away and racing. And who will get the best jump from the front of the grid? It's going to be fairly close, I think, between the top 3 on the run down towards the first corner. Watton in the middle there, Butcher around the outside will go second, and Dan Clowes in the green car slots in line in 3rd. So they will still be in the same order as they started, but it was all very close indeed into the first corner. Now remember, Dan Clowes, courtesy of Michael Watton's mechanical dramas last time out at Snetterton, the green number 8 car there running in 3rd place, is leading the championship coming into this weekend at Cadwell Park, and there are only 2 races this weekend as well, so he will be looking to try and just hang on to that championship lead over the course of the 2 races here in the northeast of the country and lead the championship into the mid-season point. Had a quick look there at the number 45 car of Alistair Boulton. This is Peter Lague, who is dicing away a bit further down the order. Peter in the number 9 car, the 76-year-old veteran of F1000 racing, therefore. There is the fight for 2nd place. Paul Butcher in 2nd place already. Michael Watton starting to get away though. Michael, remember, didn't finish race 2 at Snetterton. Or beg pardon, did finish, but had mechanical dramas that dropped him down to 9th place, and then he didn't start race number 2, so they only drop their 2 worst scores over the season. So Michael Watton, he will be counting those 2 as his 2 drop scores, and so this man, car number 1, cannot afford another bad race all season long, and we're not yet halfway through the year. So this man, Dan Clowes, arrives here at Cadwell Park 8 points clear in the championship charge, wanting to try and hang on to that, but if things finish as they are now, Watton will move himself back in front because he scored 30 points for a race victory and only 22 for 3rd, so in actual fact he will put them level on points going into the 2nd race later on. Early days yet in this 15-minute race, and Paul Butcher is the man in front of Dan Clowes, trying to hang on to 2nd position. Paul has only had 2 podium finishes this year, and the perennial runner-up finisher in the championship, Paul Butcher, he's finished 2nd place in the championship more times than anybody else, yet to take the title. He's had a bit of a dismal start to the season really, and would love to add to that podium score here this weekend. So heading up towards the gooseneck and driving an F1000 car around the Cadwell Park circuit is really quite something. Richard Mitchell, remember, still holds the outright lap record around here. That is the fastest 4-wheeled lap in history around Cadwell Park, and it belongs to an F1000 car. They are some of the quickest single-seaters that you'll see in the country, and remarkably good value for money as well, these 1000cc motorbike engine cars that weigh absolutely nothing, and that's why they're so nippy. And there are a few places really in the country that showcase the performance of these things better than Cadwell Park, with some fairly high speed sections such as this high speed blast across the start finish line. There's some really technical corners that are taken at some speed, and so they get to use all of the downforce and that really low weight to their advantage. This is a unique view looking back from Dan Clowes' car in 3rd place, looking at the exhaust there at the rear end of the car, the diffuser just below, giving them as much grip as they can get. Check back in there with Peter Lague, who is dicing away with Rob Bailey in the number 33 car. Robert Bailey arrives here 7th place in the championship on 70 points, and has not done a bad job so far this season, has Rob, who has had 1 retirement back at Brands Hatch in the 2nd race of the weekend, but other than that has reached the end of every race this season, hence the reason that he's running inside the top 10 in points, inside the top 10 in this race as well. There's Peter Lague then, not quite with him at the moment, but we've got a cracking on board from Peter's car as he turns his way in towards the gooseneck. And this is full commitment through here, using all of that downforce I mentioned, and look how much quicker he was through there than the 33 car of Bailey in front of him. So Peter not quite close enough to have a go towards Mansfield, but certainly seems to have the confidence in that car through the high-speed corners. The trouble is that's not really where you would tend to try and make an overtake stick. It's more likely to happen through the more low-speed sections. But over the mountain they go. Peter Lague, you see the cars almost become airborne there, and the really quick drivers will be getting all four wheels off the ground. Battle here for car number 14, that's Adam Walker, who also has had 2 podium finishes this season, both at Brands Hatch. Of course, he so nearly won a race at Brands Hatch, and arguably could have won a race last time out at Snetterton as well. It just didn't quite work out in the end for Adam, but he is running solidly inside the top half of the field here at Cadwell Park at the moment. Brakes into Park Corner, man chasing him down. Sorry, there is Adam Walker, beg your pardon. Man he's chasing down is Iyengar, car number 44, who got that maiden win of the season last time, maiden podium with the season last time out at Snetterton in the 3rd race. A very popular podium it was too for Alec, who again is another seasoned campaigner in the F1000 Championship. So too is Dan Clowes, who is doing his best to go with the leading two, but doesn't seem quite able to do it at the moment. Look at the speed though through the hall bends and the inch perfect precision that's required to get through that really demanding sequence of corners. Clips the apex nicely through the hairpin down into Barn. Very easy to lose the front of the car. You can see the understeer that he was fighting there as the road drops away from you, but that's the same for everybody. Blast across the start finish line through into 5th gear, 6th gear as they come past the pit lane exit. Oh, I was hoping we'd hang on board there through Coppice Corner to see whether they were doing it flat out, because you can take Coppice flat out if you've got the setup right. Like Iyengar was near enough flat out there as he drifted right to the edge of the road. There is the man of the moment, Michael Watton, leading the way, doing everything he can to get this championship lead back. Let's see if he takes some air as they come over the mountain. No, he's keeping it fairly reserved for the time being. I think it's true of most of them in this first race. Trying to keep their powder dry ahead of what is always an entertaining reversed grid race for race 2. And around a narrow circuit such as Cadwell Park, where it really isn't that easy to overtake, it's going to be particularly frenetic, I think, that reverse grid race later on. Back across the line goes Watton, and his lead is ever increasing now over Paul Butcher in 2nd place, who will just be happy to get to the end of this one after a few mechanical dramas for Paul this year. Back with Peter Lague again as he turns his way through towards the end of another lap, and he continues to close in on Robert Bailey, but hasn't yet been able to find a way past the number 33 car. And Rob Bailey, the 43-year-old from Nottingham, who is a builder and property developer, is Rob. Lists his hobbies as including drinking beer, you and me both, squash, running, converting old underloved buildings and turning them into homes for people. So there we go. He does several good deeds in his day job, does Rob Bailey, and then enjoys going and blasting around circuits at incredibly high speeds in F1000 cars of the weekend. Not a bad hobby to have. Turns his way back through Charlie's again now then. He is in only his 2nd season of F1000 racing is Rob Bailey. Peter Lague is not in his 2nd season of F1000 racing. He's been doing this for quite some time, and he's closing in on Rob as they go towards the top of the hill. Peter has a little look to the inside. There's no way through though, he's just a bit too far back from Rob Bailey. This will be Rob's first full season in the championship after dipping his toe in the water at the end of last season at Donington Park. Peter Lague, though, there's a sense of inevitability about this. He does look quicker than Bailey. It's just a case of finding the opening to make the move stick. Not down into Mansfield that time. What about, well, through this next sequence of corners, it really is just single file. You can see the camber there as they turn into the mountain. Now, that was more like it for Peter. All 4 wheels were briefly off the ground there as he came over the mountain and back through the hall bends into the hairpin, but all of that airborne action doesn't actually make you go any quicker. It just looks good. When you walk around the Cadwell Park circuit, you can see the indentation that gets left on the circuit from the cars and indeed bikes, of course. The Superbike races here at Cadwell Park, one of the headline events of the year. And you can see where the cars and bikes land, and they cut little ruts in the road, and you don't really notice that until you get a chance to go and walk the circuit. If you ever are on a racetrack, be it spectating or competing, well worth going and having a walk round on Friday or Saturday evening after close of play. because there are things that you only notice up close and personal that the TV pictures really don't do justice. For example, just how steep that hill is up the park straight. Peter jinxed to the inside there, but he was never really close enough to apply the pressure to Robert Bailey, who was really just managing to defend the place fairly easily, although he drifts a bit wide of the apex there into the gooseneck. And again, this is where Lague has been quick. Look at the extra speed that Peter carries through the corner. Bailey thought about defending into Mansfield, but realised that Peter probably wasn't really close enough to make him really sweat. Back into the mountain section once again. He's fighting for 7th place at the moment, chasing Alistair Boulton, who is the car you can see just up the road. Whoops, that was a bit wide again there for Bailey. So Lague closes in ever further. In fact, I beg your pardon, that is actually Christopher Hill, who's about to go a lap down that they're catching. Christopher Hill moves dutifully out of the way though. Doesn't impede the progress of the front runners. The number 18 car allows them to move on by. So this battle, by far the closest battle on the circuit actually in this race. And Peter Lague, well, now he's closer than he's been for a while now, going out onto the park straight. He'll pick up a decent slipstream if he follows in the wheel tracks of Rob Bailey in front of him, which he does. Is he close enough to pop one up the inside? Has a look, has a look, has a look. But no, still can't do it. That was a bit more intent being shown by Peter Lague there. Oh, wow, that was close stuff. And Peter Lague, they're both off onto the grass. What on earth happened there? That was Robert Bailey dipping a wheel on the grass, lost it in front of Peter Lague, and annoyingly for Peter, not only has I think he damaged his front wing, may have even got the car stuck in the freshly mown grass. Now he does continue, but look, Rob Bailey has actually continued still in front of him, so Peter didn't even gain a position out of all of that. But that was, wow, that was close stuff, and grandstand view there that Peter had. He's still trying to dig his way out of the grass. Well, Jonathan Palmer is not going to thank him for churning up his freshly mown lawn, but that really wasn't his fault. Bailey just dipped a wheel on the grass going through that never-ending right-hander at Chris Curve. It's very easily done, and that instantly spat the rear of the car around. We've had quite a bit of rain up here in the last few days. The circuit's dry now, but the grass is still a bit damp, and so it didn't take much for Robert Bailey to lose control and spin in front of Peter Lague. So, ironically though, it is Peter that was the biggest loser there. Well, thankfully that happened then, and not maybe a lap or so later when Michael Watton would have been catching them to put a lap on them. Michael, though, is coming across the start-finish line now. Got time for probably 2 more laps, and he negotiates the slower car of Christopher Hill as he heads up towards the start of another lap. And Michael Watton has been in imperious form thus far this season. Snetterton was a blip, there's no doubt about it. He won the first race and looked set to repeat the three-peat, the hat-trick of race wins that he managed to achieve at Brands Hatch at the start of the year, only for mechanical dramas to really put a spanner in the works, so to speak. So Michael will be hoping that history doesn't repeat itself here at Cadwell Park. He's pushing on though, isn't he, even towards the end of the race. Turns his way back down through Mansfield once again. He came into this weekend setting himself a personal target of lapping around Cadwell Park in under 1 minute 22 seconds. Only a handful of people have done that. That lap time of Richard Mitchum's that I mentioned earlier on being one of them, and it's something that Michael has never achieved around here before, but got traffic on his first couple of laps of qualifying and then broke a drive shaft. So even this weekend, mechanical issues have never been that far away from Michael Watton. But thus far, touch wood, let's hope I'm not putting the curse of the commentator on him, he's looking strong as he goes through to start his final lap of the race. And his fastest lap in this race, incidentally, has been a 1:22.9, so he's in the 1 minute 22s, but not under them. But of course, race pace is something very different to qualifying pace, so they'll be running a similar amount of fuel, but just maybe a slightly more aggressive setup in qualifying, as they're looking for that outright fastest time. Whereas in races, it's all about having good, consistent pace right the way through the 15 minutes, excuse me. So Watton slithers and slides his way through Chris Curve, and he's put on a clinic in this race. A dominant performance, half a lap to go, and he will take his 5th race victory from 7 races. But it's those 2 races that he didn't win where things really didn't go to plan. And once you take drop scores into equation at the moment, he would be leading the championship still over Dan Clowes. So Dan leads the points on scratch points, but when you take into account those drop scores, Michael moves back in front, but another bad finish, or worse still, a non-finish, and all of a sudden he has to start counting some of his previous bad results. And as I said, we're not even halfway through the season yet. We are, though, at the end of race number 1 here at Cadwell Park, and victory in round number 7 of the Speed Group F1000 Championship goes to Michael Watton, and a brilliant race victory that was as well. Look at the winning margin over Paul Butcher, who crosses the line now some 8 and a bit seconds further back. Butcher, though, will be happy to get to the end with no mechanical issues. Dan Clowes will come home in 3rd place. Then it's the lap car of Robert Bailey. And everybody else starts to file through. There's Iyengar. Adam Walker was keeping him honest towards the end of the race. They will be 4th and 5th respectively. And then Alistair Boulton should be next along, but he will not be through for some time. So confirmation of the result then. Watton takes the victory, Butcher in 2nd, Clowes 3rd, Iyengar 4th and Adam Walker 5th, with Alistair Boulton 6th, Robert Bailey 7th, Peter Lague 8th, despite that moment that the two of them had, and Alwyn Rhodes Mays in 9th. Christopher Hill is 10th, and Dan Levy, unfortunately, our only retirement, running within the Sonic Invitation Cup.
Mike lights the flag, but racing here is a little bit tight, a little bit close.
Yeah, it is very tight here. It's a difficult circuit to pass, so I really wanted to get in the lead on the first lap. And the start was quite even between the three of us, although probably I made the worst. But I just about had enough for turn 1, and I really pushed hard the first 2-3 laps to pull a gap. And then after that, I was trying to judge where everyone else was, manage my own car, and yeah, really happy to get the win. We've had a niggly weekend with problems, so to get the car prepped and ready for this race is really good.
Looking forward to race 2?
Yeah, starting P8 from the reverse grid, so that'll be really interesting round here because it's so difficult to pass and so tight. So I think maybe discretion will be the better part of valour early on in that one. Just try and survive the first 2-3 laps and then race on from there.
Well, congratulations once again. We look forward to seeing you out there tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Paul, tough race out there. Not really much you could do about Mike in front of you, but you were able to keep down behind as well.
Yeah, I was annoyed with myself because I got a really good first metre of my start and then bogged down. And if I hadn't bogged down, I probably would have had Mike off the start. And if I'd gone in front of him at the start, there was a real chance I could have held him behind. But hey, it didn't happen.
No, and it's overtaking here is really tight. It's difficult. It's a tight track.
Yeah,
but he's going to be behind you tomorrow.
He is going to be behind me tomorrow, but as he said, it's a reverse grid, and reverse grids are always a bit tight. You just have to hope that the gaps open up for you and they go your way or they don't.
Well, congratulations once again on your podium. We look forward to seeing you out there on track tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Dan, I don't mean to sound unfair, but your face really says it all. That was a tough race.
Yeah, 15 minutes around here in one of those cars is bloody hard work, to be perfectly honest. There is, I mean, the race probably wasn't the most spectacular that there's ever been, but just to drive one of these things around here is an absolute thrill. It's an awesome place.
And to race so closely as well with the guys in front of you, who are going to be behind you tomorrow.
They are, yeah. I mean, the reverse grid thing tomorrow it'll show some good excitement. I guess it gives us a little bit more of a chance because it's very, very hard work to pass around here as well. So hopefully we can make a decent start from 6th or whatever it'll be and stick my elbows out a little bit.
Look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, can't wait.